All right, today we have no idea what we're doing because we're spinning the big wheel of parables, and we're going to figure out what we're talking about in just a minute.
You are watching the Beyond Sunday podcast.
Okay, so today, Mariah has told us we're going to be looking at the parable of the lost sheep.
That's right.
Luke 15, right at the very start of the chapter, is where we're going to begin. You want to read it up?
Yep, sure.
What version are you reading, by the way?
This is the New Living Translation. So,
all right, hit us. What's in it?
okay, starting at the top of verse 15, it says, tax collectors and other notorious
Chapter 15.
sinners. What did I say?
Verse.
Chapter 15.
Chapter 15.
Verse 1 from the top.
Let's do that.
Tax collectors and other notorious sinners often came to listen to Jesus teach. This made the Pharisees and teachers of religious law complain that he was associating with such sinful people, even eating with them. So Jesus told them this story. If a man has 100 sheep and one of them gets lost, what will he do? Won't he leave the 99 others in the wilderness and go to search for the one that is lost until he finds it? And when he has found it, he will joyfully carry it home on his shoulders. When he arrives, he will call together his friends and neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me, because I have found my lost sheep." In the same way, there is more joy in heaven over one lost sinner who repents and returns to God than over 99 others who are righteous and haven't strayed away.
Cool.
It's good stuff. This is the reading of the Lord's Word.
This is the reading of the word. There you go. The I find it. I'm reading along, so I've got an NASB over here, an NIV here, and some of the words that are different are just interesting. Like you had right in the beginning, just notorious sinners. You know, mine in the NIV says sinners. It's in quotes. I didn't make bunny ears for nothing.
Sinners.
They were in quotes, and then in the notes it says tax collectors is a special note that says, you know, you can go read some more about tax collectors and stuff, but it just says sinners. But yours, in order to handle that, said specifically notorious sinners.
We all know you're sinners.
Yeah,
Those people
there are
show
universal,
up to listen to Jesus teach.
Yeah. You're not just the universal sinners; you're the special category of sinners.
Right. Yeah.
So, all right. So, a pretty common parable. I think one that most people have heard of. So,
Sure.
So what do we see inside of it then?
So right from the top, I think it's interesting. I like the way that the word notorious, it makes sense. So it says who the general population who's listening, receiving this teaching is: tax collectors and notorious sinners. They're the ones that often came to listen to Jesus teach. And we see the conundrum that causes with the Pharisees and the teachers of the religious law, because as we've talked before, actually in a recent sermon series, the Pharisees and the religious teachers, they were all about their own righteousness and appearing like they had everything together. They were sharp. They were, on top of all of the thing, managing the law, doing all of the right things. And so for them, and it says they didn't want to associate with such sinful people, not the notorious sinners, the ones that slip up and it's an accident. It's like, all right, cool, I'm fine. But not with you, even eating with them, like, no way. And so Jesus jumps into the story and sets it up in such a way that it's like I love how he walks them into truth.
Okay.
Why rejoice? Essentially, after reading the story, why would we rejoice after the fact that all of us are saved and we didn't go anywhere?
Okay.
We rejoiced because we were here in the first place. We don't continue to rejoice because we didn't leave. We rejoice because one that did leave was recovered. And it is a perspective shift that the Pharisees would not have appreciated or liked, because takes all the focus off of them, which was going to be their main desire. Like, see how good I am, see how I
Right. ...
ellipses.
Yeah. I think as you were just saying that, hopefully it didn't cheat anything. We may have to do this parable coming soon. Who knows? But shortly down in chapter 15, we get the parable of the prodigal son, the lost son, depending on the subtitle you have. But that idea, thinking about the second son, the older one, it reminds me of just what you're saying here about the Pharisees and the sinners, because they're both present in this environment, because they're the people who are listening, then they're the people who are judging and criticizing. I wonder what he's going to say now. They're ready. And what you just said just reminded me, as I said, of the parable of the prodigal son, in that the older brother is sitting there the entire time, and his view is, I want you to acknowledge my goodness, my working real hard, and instead you seem to be focusing in on the fact that this screw up of a brother that I have is paying attention, or he's said he's sorry. Right. What about me? And you go, well, I appreciate all the good that you've done, but we should be celebrating something here. And yeah, I think it can be hard for us that I have to admit, I've been in this place, even with my brothers and I've had points of resentment, with my own family where, it's like, oh, your brother did this. And it's like, I do that all the time. Yeah. Why are we celebrating?
Why is this impressive?
Well, but that's new for him.
Right.
That's new for him.
Of course you do that.
Yeah. And, and we did talk about this in a sermon when we were talking about the workers in the vineyard, that a goodness to someone else is not an injustice to us.
Yep, I loved that.
Yeah, I did too. It just hit in a deep spot, because that's how it always, in all honesty, feels to me. I'm far more on the Pharisee side when it comes to this, that I'm going to be in that place where I'm going, why don't we celebrate what this guy's doing? This guy's a notorious screw up, and he just did one slightly good thing.
One thing.
He answered the question right one time, Rabbi, and you're like, well done, good job. You're like, I aced the test. And you go, I know. Hey, we're trying to lift him up and celebrate him. And I think it's some of that is our own self-righteousness, which is a bad deal to begin with, and so we're blinded by that. But on top of that, we can't see. I've already judged that I'm doing better than you. I can't celebrate you unless we've already celebrated me.
It's a massive thing of maturity. Like, think about two kids, and truthfully, it's childish. The whole nature,
Absolutely.
the Pharisaical nature is childish.
Very much.
It says,
so.
I don't care about the lost one. That's the reality that they're living in. I don't care about those people. But if you have like a kid, I think about my niece and my nephew.
Okay.
And I can imagine this happening, and it's just the nature of a child or an immature position. But let's say the nephew's 5 years old, been walking for 4 years now.
Right.
Moving around, and baby sister takes her very first steps.
Okay, yep.
And the parents are overjoyed. They're proud. It's like, oh my gosh, you're doing so great. Look.
Right.
She's walking. And the big brother goes,
all the time.
Like, okay, I can do better than that.
I can run.
Watch this,
Yeah.
And then they start running laps around or knocking over their baby sister. It's
right,
like,
yep.
Bet they can't get up, And it becomes just a contest.
It's funny because it's really true, actually.
Yeah, it's just a contest of goodness.
Right.
It's like, I can do better.
Right.
Okay, I'm proud of you, 5-year-old.
Right.
I don't care.
Right. We're celebrating
baby,
somebody
new steps.
else. Yeah.
And it's just the attention being away from, your own goodness.
Right.
Shows a part of your heart that is childish or immature in nature. And so you see this reality and conundrum in the Pharisees
Right.
as Jesus addresses
Yeah.
the reality of the sheep being gone. And I just think it's funny. I can imagine this whole scene playing out with two kids.
Right. Well, and just as you were saying that, here's the 5-year-old. When we're all one and starting to stand and walk and do all those kinds of things, there was a day when it was just him. I mean, he was your first nephew, and so as he's doing his thing, there was the day that he was celebrated in the very same manner.
Yeah.
And it probably because he was your brother's first kid, it was in some ways probably even bigger. This is the first time we've ever experienced a human
Sure.
walking. There was all the same things for you already. We're just doing it again for someone else. But you're going, but where's my continued thing for today? We can talk, just because I'm talking about this person doesn't mean that there is no love for you, that it doesn't apply. I remember talking with our friend and mentor that I was talking about some congratulations that I had been given once, and it was amongst a crowd of people, and immaturely didn't receive it. I was like, He goes, someone's appreciation and love is not a finite commodity. It's not something that's like, well, they doled out some of it, so mine has less value. It's not like a rookie baseball card. And you go, well, this is just a common baseball card. This one doesn't have value. And you go, no, it all has value, because as long as it's always sincere, it always has value. Nothing diminishes it in any way.
Yeah.
So I think it is definitely a maturity issue as we look at the audiences here.
I just recently
So
listened
interesting.
to this message, and it was talking about our desire to have approval from our Father.
Okay. Yep.
And so the beginning analogy is the earthly father,
Uh-huh.
and always wanting approval. So as a kid, your dad comes home and mom has been, in this traditional picture, mom's maybe been watching this
Okay.
child, caring for the child all day.
Okay.
And, doing all of the things. I drug all the things down to the pool for you. I've done all of this. And as soon as dad comes home, it's like, Daddy, the greatest part of my day just
Right.
happened. And, mom's like, what in the world? You
Right.
know? And it's so significant, the approval of a father.
Uh-huh.
And so it's like, Daddy, I learned how to run sideways today. I want you to watch it.
Right.
Watch
yeah.
me I'm going to run sideways and fall into the pool. And I need you to watch. Watch.
Okay. Yep.
And so they do this in effort for just approval and accolades and being recognized for their accomplishments. And the Pharisees are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They're just saying, recognize all that I've done. And instead, it's not, Daddy, watch me. It's teacher, watch me.
Right. Yeah.
Jesus, check this out.
Yeah, acknowledge how good I've done. I've got a checklist of 600 and some things, and I've
I
done
do
them
'em
all.
all.
Yep, I've
Yep.
done them all. That's so interesting because, when you think about that, if as an adult, and you've probably known some adults who are a little bit like this, that watch me.
Straight face.
Straight face.
Keep it straight.
Yeah,
Keep it
straight. You, not speaking of anyone specific or no, but yeah, if you ever run into an adult who has that exact same behavior, that it didn't mature out of them, that it's, hey, look at me, watch me. It's not an attractive feature. What you're saying just hit me with the Pharisees, and for myself even. The only difference between the 5-year-old who just learned to run sideways and can do it in the pool and needs you to watch him, and how I behave so often, is just that I've learned to nuance it over 50 years of life to try and make it a little more subtle, and it's at a different
Yeah.
perspective, but it is still acknowledge me, watch me, approve me. And so, yeah, it is all very self-serving and still trying to seek my own self-goodness. So,
Yeah, and really, it's not that subtle.
no, I like
we've
to think it
tricked
is.
ourselves into thinking that, no
No one
I
else
actually-
gets this. These are my deep hidden
I
inner
thought
motivations.
through this, but the reality is so much of humanity is wired like that naturally that they're all like, I know what he's doing.
Right.
But nothing for nothing, I'm going to scratch his back a little bit because I'm going to do the same thing later.
Right.
And I'm going to hope that he reciprocates to me. We're going to mutually make each other feel better. And it comes out of a place in some varying degree for each person, I think, in a lack of identity.
Okay.
I don't know who I am if I don't have this.
Right.
And for the Pharisees, that's acknowledgement of goodness and righteousness.
Right.
And it comes from my own striving.
Right.
Where oftentimes you'll see in Scripture sinners be confronted with truth and they go, oh my gosh, I'm unworthy to be in your presence. I don't understand this. And they have repentant hearts.
Right. Yeah.
Because they recognize that I'm not good.
Right.
And it changes everything. It changes the whole dynamic. And so I love this story because it starts talking about the one who is gone away, the one who's out of the fold, the one who's out of the family, the outcast. You mentioned the prodigal son. It's a great example of the same thing. In some ways, a literal example of this person going away. Lots of imagery with the sheep. Jesus is referred to as a shepherd.
Right.
And so this analogy makes a lot of sense with sheep, but you don't just count it a loss when one of yours goes away.
Right.
You know, if you have 6 kids and you lose one, you don't go, well, the other 5 are good enough. No, I hope that's not right. If it does,
That's why you have so many kids.
Yeah.
Spares.
Right. I
That's
got
what they're
bonus
there for.
kids. I didn't have a problem getting
That
these
is
6.
not why you have extra kids, by the way. Just
No, this is bad. But you don't do
Kim
that.
is losing her mind over there right now.
You don't do that when you have, a bunch of kids. You don't go, Timmy was good while he had him.
Mm-hmm.
See you, buddy. Blessings to you on your journey. You don't do that. You go and find your son
Right.
that's gone, your possession, your prize that is gone. And this is how Jesus feels about us.
Right. Yeah, and I do like that because, I was just flipping while you were talking over, John chapter 10. So if you flip along over to there, we have the parable of the Good Shepherd. Jesus talks about himself. And in verse 14, he says, I am the Good Shepherd and I know my own and my own know me. So there is this belongingness. And so when we come down into this parable, it says that you have 100, these belong to me. So there's already this sense of a belongingness. And, the problem is one strays. These are mine, but one strays off. And what do I do? Yeah, do I just count it as loss, or do you go after it? They all hold value. And I think one of the challenges is if we're in the position of the Pharisee or that immature person, as we might look at ourselves, is that, I might view the one as the person who has gone astray in this truly dynamic way, someone who has fallen into drugs and alcohol or sexual immorality or something like that.
Yeah.
Something that was fairly public, fairly grand, and it makes people go, oh.
Right.
But
Yep.
I think the point is we all, at various points, have been the lost sheep. I mean, none of us started out saved people.
That's right.
None of us started out as, reconciled to God or anything else. All of us were, in a weird way, if you look at it, there was 100 sheep. They were all lost at one point, and he had to gather and gather and gather. And kind of like the 5-year-old, if you were the first, metaphorically, sheep gathered, you may go, okay, I'm here, I got this thing. And you go, okay, I'm going to leave you for a minute. I'm going to go get another one. You go, all this time and attention for that guy. What about me? I'm here. It's like, I did the same to go bring you into the fold. And I just love some of the imagery here. There's been a lot of paintings, that have been used with David in this symbol, but this idea of carrying a sheep on the shoulder, there is this kind of image of a carryingness that is not, dragging this thing, forcibly and going, all right, sheep, I'm putting a leash on you. I'm dragging you back,
Right.
or just whooping and beating it the whole way back. I mean, because you get behind it with a reed and just drive it back, but it's like, nope, come
He
with me.
doesn't lead him back.
Right.
He carries him
I'm
back.
carrying you back into this.
Yeah.
And so there is this movement that says, under my strength, says the Lord, under my strength, I will carry you back into the fold. And, we were talking earlier today about some things about, the reason that we can even love God is because of his love for us. First, we have life in him because he puts life in us. And just reading that part right there is that moment is it's his life that brings the power. And in my translation, it says he joyfully does it.
Yep.
It's not, this sheep, again with this sheep. I am so tired of this sheep.
Yeah.
I can't believe this sheep. Because I don't know about you, but as I continue to screw up in my life, especially the farther I go, I would have thought earlier in my walk that I would have thought God gets frustrated with me.
Right.
There are times farther on, I'm more and more concerned about that because it's like,
Again?
yeah, I feel like you should know better by now. It's kind of how I feel sometimes that God may look at me like, you should know better. But that's the thing I love about his word is you dive in. What is the truth of it? He joyfully, he is so excited that, I could have run off as he approached like, hey, come on, let's go back. No, and taken off. And you go, but he's like, hey, you allowed me to approach. You allowed me to put you up here. And we're going together now.
Yep.
And he's just excited he's found you. He's able to bring you back in. And as the Lord is able, as we repent, as we allow ourselves to submit to him and we're brought back in, there is a joyfulness in his heart as well.
Yeah. It doesn't burden the Lord's heart to restore you. It doesn't
that's good.
burden
like
the
that.
Lord's heart to bring you back in. And we see in the way that he engages with the sheep, he joyfully carries the sheep back in. It's nothing that the sheep does to restore himself back into the family, into the fold.
There you go.
The Lord does all of it. He says, I will bring you back in. And you see so much rich imagery, even of the way that salvation works through Jesus alone.
Yeah.
Not anything that you do.
Yep.
And again, this is pounding the Pharisees in the head against everything that they believe and know. And it goes, no, by my strength alone, I will bring you back in, and I'll do it joyfully. I want you. I desire you to be with me.
Right.
And I'll do it all. I will restore
Right.
you alone.
Yep. Love that.
And yeah, it is only a willingness. I mean, are you going to let me pick you up? I won't chase you.
Right.
We're not going to start the lost dog that just runs and is, just having a blast. But
Yeah.
I'll let you pick me up.
Right.
I'll let you pick me up from wherever I'm at.
Yeah. And bring me
so
back
there's
in.
so much hope as we think about and I really appreciated what you said, it is not always the dramatic story that is the lost sheep.
Right.
It's I stopped going to church. I unplugged from community. It's
Yeah.
the simplest of things. It's I decided to just kind of pursue my own career and passions,
Right.
and I just begin doing the things that I want to do. I like to do that feel right to me.
Yeah.
Not even always on the outside bad-looking things.
Right. Yeah. Culturally, society, it's like, yeah, you're a good guy.
I don't have a drinking problem. I don't have a divorced family. I'm married. I'm faithful. I work really, really hard. I earn a lot of money. I spend a lot of money.
It's a lot about you, apparently.
It's a lot about me.
Right.
And the reality is, it is a point that all of us get to, or that we have to get to if we want to be received back in or restored for the first time or for the 150th time. It says it's not about me anymore.
Right.
And I will let you restore me.
There you go. All right. Well, I think that brings us to a good place to close up. So there you go. Our first mystery parable done. Hope you guys enjoyed the discussion. Continue it. Ask questions. Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments below. But until next time, we'll see you later.
This has been another episode of the Beyond Sunday podcast. And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe.